weird repairs or out of the normal repairs. We're going to talk about the new winner on the PGA Tour, and we're going to talk about golf clubs. Stay tuned for What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. It's Jim McCleary here, 6-time top 100 best club fitters. And why is it What's in My Drawers? It's because old club makers, club fitters are tremendous pack rats. And this isn't any different. So we got talking about what was in the drawers of the shop, and it's turned into this discussion. And we're going to keep it going today. And we're going to try and make sure they have a good discussion. Okay. So let's see. First things first. Will Zalatoris drew first blood in the FedEx, and wow, what a and you're going to take it right to 3 playoff holes with Sepp Straka, and I think both those guys they both got a career going on, right? That will be good for both of them, and you know Will Zalatoris was just going to win, and you know Sepp was going to be right there behind him. And it appeared that neither one of them wanted to win it there for a couple of times, and it was just until the guy that made the fewest mistakes or played the smartest golf won. So congratulations to him. That's what we like to see. Good. You could tell they were both kind of nervous because I don't think either one of them been in playoffs. So that was pretty cool, and we like to do that. All right. Let's see. Right off the bat, Erin is still with us. She's she's digging the ice cream. All righty. Let's see. Stuff that we did for the week. We really cranked out some stuff this weekend. It was quite the weekend. We got a lot done. So some more of the Tura golf wedges. We got some of those done. Mr. Charlie got himself some new staff wedges. We made a set of D9s for a golfer in Dayton using the Modus Pro 120Ss in those particular shafts. And for some reason, we didn't take pictures. I made another set of the Strixon ZX4s for that same guy's golfing buddy. And we used the Nippon Neo 950 GHs with a slightly larger grip. And both of those can be seen on my Instagram, which means let's do this. Bam. And both of them are on the Instagram, and you can see them there. And we finished another one for a local high schooler, which didn't seem to be that tall, but I had to make clubs an inch longer than standard. And then when I realized what was going on, he's choking down a half of an inch. Okay. So half an inch I would have bought, but the difference in how he gripped it, went through it, were night and day. I wish I had the fitting form. The standard length club, he barely hit on the face. And then the second one was a half of an inch long and was on the face, but it was on the edge, more towards the heel as opposed to the toe. And then when we gave him an inch longer, it was straight smack dab in the middle. And these are, my fitting clubs are back here, and, same head shaft, grip flex, everything. And all it is checking length. And the difference was literally 25 yards for that half of an inch. That's what quality of hit putting on the face will do for you. So there's your fitting talk. Also made a Mizuno Driver. It turned out really, really well. We like that one. And so we got. Oh, here's another one. So it leads me into the weird fixes kind of thing. I got asked to shift some shafts around. That's not necessarily unusual. We got that one is obviously it's on a sim, and the reason why I'm talking to you about this one, and we're going to talk about that one. That's a Cobra Driver, obviously, and right there. So let's talk about that. So why is that a weird one? Well, so Cobra on drivers, when they have their adapter and their ferrule. Well, I should have had one of those. Anyway, when they have their adapter in the ferrule, because it's an adjustable club, you don't see an actual ferrule that comes up and acts, gives it like a beauty ring or something along that lines. It's literally a ring that sits on the inside. That's basically, if you had a collared ferrule and you just cut off the collar and you shoved it in there, that's what it would be. And yeah, it'll make that right now. I guess I could cut it off and shove it in there because I have done that. But I came across this, and I'm gonna go back to it and show you. If you look right at the very top of that adapter, and I don't know if you can see my my pointer, but if you look at right at the very top of the adapter, there's a ring right there. That ring is 1/8 of an inch, so it's no bigger than that. And that collar that was in it fits in there perfect. So instead of trying to just cut it off, I put it on there to kind of give myself a, does it look good? Does it not look good? And it did. It looked pretty good. And when I finished it up, it actually looked like it was part of the club on purpose. So we kept that one. All right. And so you think, oh, okay, that's it for that one until you run up on this guy. And this is that the Sim with a standard tailor-made adapter. And what I was doing is I was changing shafts. I didn't like the one shaft. We liked another one. I pulled them out of I think it was a Tylus adapter. Anyway, I put it in there, and I needed the exact same ferrule, except for on this one, it's made to have that ferrule sticking out there, and so it works. So from a repair standpoint, you got to kind of go with what you've got, and it worked both ways. So basically, what's the rhyme or reason here? There's more than one way to skin that cat. Okay. Before we go any further, like and subscribe if you would, please. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Let them watch on here. I'd like to really see the subscribership jump, obviously, but I'd also like to see the views and that stuff go up with this guy, because we're really talking some good golf stuff, right? Some good golf stuff. All right, so kind of breaking the monotony. Now I showed you this. I showed you this from last week, right? I won. I won this because I basically sucked at putting for a day, and the very next day, I I started putting really well. I actually had a couple of one putts, and I only had one three putt at the end. That's because I was just trying to get out of the way. So anyway, yesterday I go golfing, and I was shot 79. And I was 1 under for the first coming into number 5, and I somehow between 5 or 6, 7, I was 1 under through 5, 6, 7, and 8. Somehow I figured out how to go bogey, bogey, double, and then I got it back on the par train on number 9. But when it was all said and done, I still had fewer than 18 putts on the front, and I had fewer than 18 putts on the back. And so I only had 1 3-putt the entire round. So I'm like, I'm just not sure if I'm going to break this guy out or not. It's like that threat or that good luck charm or whatever. But I tell you what, being out there in Maryland doing the long putting really served a purpose. I got to tell you. So what if you guys have never seen it, it looks like this. And right here is the cup. Okay. And then there's a metal piece that goes up around here, and because it's the platinum edition, it's a metal piece, and a normal one it's plastic. And what you do is, this is the shape of the cup, but right here is where you aim to put the ball, and it's like a game. If you guys are old enough to remember the wooden bowl on a stick and a ball hanging from it, and you'd swing it and try and get it into the bowl, same concept with a golf ball. And so what it's really teaching you is not to see the front of the cup, but to see the back, and you putt for the back of the cup, and that's really a trigger problem for a lot of golfers, right? And I mean, I'm one of them, and ever since I've had the threat of pulling that bad boy out, it's been pretty good. So I'm I'm happy with that. All righty, so we're back to the. So that was part of that particular repair, right? So what was another one? This is one I rarely get. Now, if you can't see it, I apologize, but that's a US Kids Club wedge. Okay. It's a US Kids Club wedge, and I put a Acra shaft in it, an Acra Kids shaft. So Acra right about here, there, down here. In the I series, they have a couple of what I would call junior shafts. And, if you have a young golfer that has, is physically, gifted, is stronger, knows what they like, but it's just not quite there for the, like I say, even a lady shaft, then they call it SRTs. And it makes for a really, really good shaft for that particular person. Not quite a teenager, in the 10 and under kind of category, but there's one that might be a little bit more than that. It depends on how hard you can swing. Very nice shaft, right? Very nice shaft. So we put that in there. Now, why is that weird? Well, normally kids clubs, right? Kids clubs they're not all that pricey in most cases, but I thought, well, it'd be a 370 and away you go. Well, it wasn't. The hosel was actually in a taper tip variety. It might have even been smaller for the kids' shafts, since they have smaller, they don't have nearly as much torque on them. So they're making it a little bit more give, a little bit more whippy. So it was a smaller hosel diameter. I got to the point I was so focused on just fixing it, I forgot to measure it. So I reamed it out, put the shaft in it. Now it's a for real wedge right there. And we got it back in play. Now here's the weird one. And let's see, whoops, there we go. The weird one is the one that's attached to this guy, and it's that Callaway X-Hot that's right there. And you're looking down on it right there using the MCC4 grip. And that's what it looks like. So you go, oh, Jim, it's a bore through. Well, you'd be about half right. It is a bore through by definition, but it's not a bore through by practicality. Now, what does that mean? So if you look at some of the very latest bore throughs, they had kind of what I would call a button on the bottom of the club. It's kind of an ovalish with a button on it. And that was basically a cap. It was, and it really was kind of a button. It was a button you could press it in there, and it would leave that there. Otherwise, it just was a regular install, and it went into it would go into the hosel. You could go into the hosel just like you would for a normal shaft, and then they would bore it through, right, kind of like this. They would bore it through, and then right there would be the button. So from about here to here would be really, really small enough. You could probably put a tip pin in it, and then and take care of that. Now, is this a bore through? Is that a bore through? The answer to that would be yeah, it's a bore through. Is it a functioning bore through? Answer is no. This one goes right down into here as well, and then it's just wide open. So you can't buy a button, at least not that I'm aware of. If you guys know, please let me know. So I just took a chance, and I went and got an old large tip pin, and I well, massaged it. I basically sanded it so that it would really fit in there well. And I got it with some glue, and then I drove it in there pretty good and had glue around it. And that's kind of a backwards thing. So that big black, the shinier black, that's the tip pin, and all the darker black around it is actual glue. And it's only holding something about that big in there. So short of him just crunching the ground, I think it's in there pretty good, and we'll go from there. Now, which leads me into the video for tomorrow is more weird repair fixes. I'm fixing a Diablo, and it could go under the category of worst repairs. I'm repairing somebody else's work. So take a look at that one. It's going to go off at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we should be good to go. Alrighty, so that's the weird stuff. We got all that taken care of. Oh, and I got one more here for you. This one came in at the last minute. We're making a thriver or a mini driver out of that guy. And what is that? That is a 905S. 8.5 degree. I like to see this thing get going. So he asked for something to help to get the ball in the air. I said, well, more loft, but that's what it was. So I really kind of like how this turned out. The finish on the bottom stayed original looking. I got the new shaft through it, and I picked the this had an Acra Ice series. And why did I choose that? Because the Titleist takes up like that much of the tip section, which is a good 4.5 inches of tip. And when you do that, it just basically stops the shaft from flexing. If you're expecting some of this, it doesn't happen because it's like that now. And so what I do is I get in there and I get something with a longer tip section just so you can make it feel a little bit softer. And that's what we did, right? And that's what we did. We got it going, and it turned out pretty good. I'm real happy with that one as well. So now it's a 43.5 inch driver, or 43-inch driver. I can't remember which one. Anyway, it's a short driver, and so we're ready to go. All righty, so hopefully we got it all taken care of. Again, if you don't mind, like and subscribe on this guy, and let's tell our friends out there. All right, all the way to the top. Duke K is number one out of the box. Do you know what type grooves Mizuno 22s have, V's or U's? I can't find the answer anywhere. Which one do you prefer? Honestly, Duke, I have never cared about what the bottom of that golf club looked like. I was more concerned about the face, and I'll show you that here in a second. I'm trying to see. Okay, so yes, let me get rid of this. Oh, number one, huh? How about this? Charles, if you're watching, woo, 14, baby, 14. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm trying to get it so you can see. So everybody's worried about what the bottom of the groove does. And there's V's, U's, W's. There used to be squares, all kinds of different shapes at the bottom. And the idea is, well, look at this. I get to use my glass. If the golf ball, it comes in here, and that golf ball mashes into the club, and it runs into the bottom of the groove, and the groove grabs it, and it creates all this spin. Well, if you had one of those really spinny faces, and you still can't, and you spin it, what's really doing that, right? And so this is a really cool question on wedges and spins, or even regular irons and spins. So from a club point of view, what creates the spin? It would be, in my opinion, it is the grooves that are between the grooves, meaning the flats, okay? The flats right here. And that's the reason why you're starting to see more aggressive faces in wedges. Now, keep in mind, when they went to the groove rule, they changed the groove rule, which is there was some depth, some shape at the bottom, some width, space between the grooves, how they were beveled at the top of the groove. And these things are all on thousandths of an inch kind of thing, right? And the whole idea was to lower spin and make it harder for the professional. So what did they do in response to that? They being the golf companies. Well, what they did is they did all that stuff for the groove, but they made the face more coarse. And there's a rule for that one, is it can't be any more coarse than a fingernail file. Okay, well, you put a lot of grooving on there. If you're Callaway, you cut them. If you're was it Vokey, you mill them. Some people will press them at the forge. And keep in mind, Mizuno and Wilson are basically the only forged irons. I'm sure there's out there like Mira and that kind of thing, but as far as straight on mainstream wedges or companies that are making them, that's it. Callaway's a soft cast, so is the Vokey, right? All these are out there like that. Even Cleveland. So what happens is you make the face more coarse, and that's what's gripping the golf ball more. That, and then you combine it on the golfer side, your side, and how you get into the golf ball. If you're a scooper slider underneather kind of guy, chances are you're probably not going to spin it as much as a guy that comes in and tries to pinch the ball. And that's the reason why you guys see guys really pulling back 6-irons, and you don't see that same kind of swing with a wedge, because they'd have to hit it on the far end of the green and watch it pull all the way back because of all of that. End result of that groove rule was wedge play went up, right? The wedge play went up, and it would be my opinion, probably my opinion alone, but it was because of the changes that they made to the face to allow these guys to get more grab on the golf ball in that junky, second cut or whatever, and using it with the face. So, Duke, to actually answer, I really don't know what's at the bottom. If I had my druthers, in a guess, I would imagine it's a V groove, but I can't say for any level of certainty. All righty, Matt, 76 today, lipped out 4 times. Woo! No, hey, I know about that stuff. Hence that. I had to turn it around the other way and give the putt out guys a little bit of love instead of my golf spy. All righty. Oh, let's see. Why do club lie angles and lofts change throughout the season? Hope all is well. Well, Matt, you're just full of good questions. No wonder you're a teacher. So why do they change? Well, what it is you put, and we're talking about irons again, you put enough stress on metal and it'll give, right? And so hitting into the ground, the fact you twirl it and bounce it off the ground as you're waiting on it, and anger thud, right? That's what I call them, anger thuds. And all those, after multiple times, are eventually going to take their toll on a piece of metal, and it's going to give a little bit. Now, we're not talking about snapping. We're just talking about this, right? The just minuscule movements. Now, the other thing that contributes to it is the metal. You've seen where forged clubs can be bent on average up to about 4, where cast is only up to about 2. But there are some that are very, very soft cast that you can move around quite a bit. And there's some forged that are made out of a different material or will have a PVD coating on it, or that makes them really, really brittle. And then you can't do that. Okay. So those are what's taken in there. But the idea of the repeated stress for hitting the ground, that's pretty much the reason. Mr. Hanner, what do you say in the UK? Thanks for staying up so late. Darts into 770s, drilled it out to 370. Are very tight, don't like taking any more off the shaft, thinking the drill the heads out to 9.5. Well, just so happens I did that not too long ago as well. Don't be afraid to take just a little bit more off that shaft. If you look at the bottom of that shaft, David, you'll see that there is a tremendous amount of material on the bottom. The hole in that thing is very small. It's not a very large one. And that's because of the stability that they design into the shaft. Okay. Now, also, you take into account what used to be an ion. They had that ion plating, which is the silvery, the chrome look from the old recoils. Well, that black on there is kind of like a blackish chrome, right? It's very silver, or I'm sorry, very dark, and it's tough, and that adds an added layer. And they tend to make those things a little thicker. And I've run into that myself, where even on 370s, after I've reamed them out, and they still don't want to fit. So as long as you can get to I tend to go to, you don't want to drill out to 370. You want to drill out to 380. You need that 1/100th more to allow the glue to get in there and get around it and center it into the head. So if the 9.4 is a metric equivalent to 370, yeah, the 9.5 is probably the way to go. However, I'm not doing any real quick math. If 9.4 is that 3.8-ish, right? The 380-ish, yeah. Then yeah, you probably want to move up to that millimeter and try it that way instead. All right. However, if it is looking like it's still tight, then I wouldn't be afraid to take just a hair more off of it, and just a little bit. We're talking even into the thousandths or even 10,000ths to make it slide in there. All right. Mr. David again. Hope all is well. No problem. Same for you, sir. After cutting a shaft, when you clean the end on a belt sander, do you sand on the shaft end first, then side on, or side on then first? Oh, all right. So if we're talking like a steel shaft, so if I cut a steel shaft, that's the one thing I didn't bring with me is a shaft. Okay, so if I cut a shaft, inevitably there's going to be what I would call slag or a burr on the end of it. And what I tend to do is I will get rid of the burr first and then just knock off, because what it does is it'll force some towards the inside, so to speak. And then I go to the butt end and I just real quick touch, and that normally flings the rest of it off, not the other way around. That's how I do it. And yep, that's basically for the steel stuff. All right, I've had issues taking off too much graphite tips and the paint shells splitting ferrules above, hence questions about drilling the heads instead. Yeah, and again, it could definitely be because the actual tip size is a little bit bigger. If you had a micrometer, it'd be worth a shot to mic it and see what was going on. And that leans itself to the tip size being a little large. If you're running into that particular problem, what you can do is just with a butane torch or some low level heat, just hit it about 5 seconds on, 5 seconds. I use butane torch, so it's 5 seconds. 5 seconds all the way around, and then I put it on, and the ferrule is just soft enough to be able to slide down without snapping. All right. Charles, how are you, sir? Here we go, 14. Wow, 79.86. Okay, I've been there, brother. Repairing my golf buddy's Steelhead XR7 head came loose yesterday during play. Found what to be a tip weight in the hosel. Yeah, you very well may. The XR7 steelhead. Yeah. In the iron, it's not uncommon to find a tip weight in some of the OEMs, because the OEMs will definitely they swing weight, length, swing weight, and loft or lie, one or the other, are the three parameters that most OEMs really key in on, and particularly swing weight and length, and then the loft and lie angles are within a degree or so in order for them to pass mustard. So you got to watch out for that. Also, tip was a 1/4 inch up inside the shaft. Is that normal? Bore through design. It is a bore through design head. Well, that would be kind of abnormal for me. I thought the steel heads. Oh, this is that very thing that we might be talking about, Charles. Is that it might be. I'd have to go look. If it's the original steelhead, right? The original, way back when kind of steelhead, yeah, it's a bore through. If it's the latest one, if it's the very most recent steelhead, no, it's not. At least I don't. It's the one with the button on the back that we were just talking about. And if that was that one, then yes, a little tip in there. Bore throughs, not so much. All right. Hello, Willard. Like the 4-wheeler. Pretty nice. Charles cleaned up everything. There you go. Well done. Already hit that like button. Good job. Thank you. Let's see if you can convince everybody else now. Charles Brown, still a good round, Matt. Yep. Mike asks, Jimmy, ever choose a driver for a senior? If you had to choose a driver for a senior golfer, one with lots of forgiveness, great distance, very stable, very nice shaft, which one are you choosing? Oh my goodness, Mike. All right, so what I have found, this is proof in the pudding by the last series of fittings I did for some senior golfers, right? Now, when we fit here, length is a priority, weight is a priority, uh, flex becomes a priority towards the end. But I'm more concerned about the weight, the total weight, the length, how we're getting the ball up in the air, and then dispersion. Okay, and my quality of hit, number one, need a big quality of hit. And for senior golfers, and I'll classify that, let's just say that's 80 mile an hour or less, maybe in the 70s or less. The one driver that I have found for me, right, in my fitting, and I fit with Callaway, Mizuno, I have Strixon, and Wilson. Okay, those are my four choices when I fit. By far and away, the Wilson D9 the Wilson D9 driver wins hands down. Okay, wins hands down. And the only way I could come away with explaining why is because a lot of these other clubs either are geared towards swing speeds that are a little bit faster, and a lot of that technology just doesn't kick in. So basically, the club that is in its simplest form, i.e., the Wilson D9, would tend to do that. Okay, that's what happens with me. It has a fairly decent insertion depth. Once you get a nice shaft into it, you're good to go. All right. Willard. Neighbor brought a Pro Launch Red driver. For a driver from Golf Galaxy. He wants me to fix him up. Guy told him to trim 1 inch from the tip. He also wants a higher ball flight. I think the wrong shaft. The red, as I understand it, is the one that is more aggressive than the blue. And if you're tripping, and that means the lower launching of the two, and if you're going to tip trim at 1 inch, that's going to make it even launch lower, even if you're the flex lower than what the guy prescribed. So if you needed a stiff and you had an R, that's probably closer to what's real, because the shaft would tend to play stiffer than advertised. But then you're talking about tipping it, which tipping a driver shaft can be tricky. You do it for certain golfers, but not all of them. If he's just dead set on having that shaft in there, and he wants a higher flight, I would forget about that. I forget about tip trimming it and let it get in there. Now I can see why. There's also this other school of thought, which in this particular instance probably won't help. And what it is if you make it stiffer, it'll hold the face open and give you a few more, and keep the face open. When the face is open, it has higher degrees, and you launch it. And that can happen. The only problem is it's also about this. And it's being opened because it's not being opened this way. Let's do this. It's not being opened this way or adding loft this way. It's adding loft this way. And that's the problem here. You're doing like this, so you're going to hit offline. Therein lies the problem. So I mean, you could put it in there, but I wouldn't tip trim it, and we go from there. And anyway, Willard. So here's the thing. The idea, the other part of it is, and I know the other club makers out there are going, "Oh, you haven't said it yet." I know. So the shaft, when it comes right down to it, will the shaft make you hit it higher or lower for that matter? And the answer to that is yes, it will, but only marginally, right? If you're looking for some sort of drastic change, you need to have a drastic change, and that means loft. right? Or tee height so that you can hit the ball higher. Tee height is a big deal. You can really, you tee it up this much and it can make a huge difference on the way that it launches. And then the last bit can be a golf ball, right? But the shaft itself is not like, oh, you hit it like this, and now you're hitting it like that. No, that doesn't occur, right? But can it or catalyst it? Yeah, for sure. But it's not the cure-all, end-all. All right, Adrian, morning from wet Canberra, Australia. Well, thank you for joining us in the morning, I guess. Looking for some warmer, drier weather coming our way. Good. Thanks for watching. RSG from St. Louis. Thank you, sir or ma'am. Past my prime. Glad to see little Pooch is still with you. Yeah. I tell you what, we have been stressing on that one, man. We have been stressing, I will say that. All right. Patrick, back with the Mercedes thing. I like it. What hitting max are you using on your driving range? We're looking to do a few sections, if not the entire tee boxes on our golf courses. Patrick, I can wholeheartedly recommend Fiberbuilt. And they have, and I don't know your situation, but they have a product and it's called a T line, right? It's a T line, and it's it's like a puzzle, and the rubber base fits together like a puzzle, and however long that you want it to be, however wide you want it to be, it's going to be 4 foot in depth this way, but however wide as far as the eye can see, as far as they care, and be stance, mat, hitting area, stance, mat, hitting area, stance, mat, hitting area, stance, mat, as far as the eye can see. So they very, very much take care of those types of people, and it does last quite a long time. That's one of the reasons why I got them. They did a test, and they welded a golf club to a 350 motor flywheel and started it and just let it go. And it took about 1 million shots before it wore it down. And your hitting area lasts for 4 sections. Do the math. And so it can go quite some time. It'll probably wear out due to weather before it wears out to ball strikes. Dog Rex, what do you say, man? How do we find you on Instagram? Well, people are finding me here. Let's see. Let me get this on. Oh, there you go. This is the last one. All right. So if you see right here, I am McGolf. IAMCGOLF. That's me. That's how you do it. Okay. There you go. Thank you, sir. There you go. Oh, that's Mrs. McGolf answering. Now, I will also say, Patrick, is that there's 2 different styles. There is what they call the driving range mat, which is a little firmer. So the hitting area is about that thick. So you can hit fat and you'll know it. The stance mat is what I would call average, right? It's very nice, and they do last quite a while. We've had them for a long, long time. And they have tees that will go through the holes, and they're adjustable tees, not the plastic rubbery tees, although you can get those if that's what you prefer. Now, they also have what's called the Country Club green, and that's what I use in here. I don't know if you'd be able to see it or not. Let's see. There it is. That's what it is. And I've been in here for almost 2 years, and all you can see is that little bitty area, and I've not changed a thing just as of yet. Now, what is the Country Club green? All right, what is the Country Club green? Well, yeah, look at that thing. There we go. The Country Club green is a softer. When you stand on the stance mat, it's more like standing on the fairway. and it's a darker green color, and the hitting area is the same darker green color. I think it's slightly more dense in order to be able to hit through it a little bit differently. It's just made differently. And so there you go. And that one has that new base on it, where the other ones are these, the whole piece parts is this ginormously heavy mat. So yeah, give them a call and see what they think. Tell them we sent you. Maybe I get a cut or something. All right, past my prime. 17-year-old Saki Baba of Japan. Hopefully I said that right. U.S. Women's Amateur, over 20, Canadian Monday. Monette Chun, 11 and 9. Incredible player. All right. I'm glad you're taking care of it. I was looking at it and my little golf thing I've got going on here. They did have some of it, but I just didn't read it. Good catch. All right, look at, there she is right there. I am at golf. All right. Chambers Bay, Washington. Nice area. All right. Brennan, how are you, sir, from Northern Ireland? How did your Strixon order? Did you keep it or did you let it go? Mr. Hodges, how are you, sir? Thank you for staying up late. I'm looking at the possibility of Sam Putt Lab. What do you guys use other than Flight Scope for putting work? Of that, I can tell you. I just have the box, and I think this thing is neater than all get out. That guy. Capto. I don't have, it's out in the other room, but so much like the Sam Putt Lab, the Sam Putt Lab has got this gizmo that you put on the putter. And for a very, very long time, I was anti put anything on the putter because I thought it would impact the way that you putted. And they said, oh, it puts it on the neutral spot. You don't even worry about it. No big deal. No, you do. But the information that they gave you was very, very good. But you know, my reasoning here the whole time was nothing more than, if you can't get to the ball of the hole, what different? It doesn't matter what's hanging off of your putter, right? The ball's got to get into the hole, and that's the real issue. And that's the reason why I kind of shunned those for a while, because the Flight Scope had it and it was okay, but it was more launch monitoring stuff, and you really need to know what the putter's doing. And then you got this saying, well, this is all about a putter coach talking to his golf pupil, and what does that do for fitting? It just tells you, well, if you want to go a little straighter, you got to close it, open it, or whatever. Well, what's that tell you? What does that mean for a putter? Well, then all of a sudden you got to be good with putters, which a lot of fitters are. And then I got this Capto, and this Capto has got easily 30 different parameters that it monitors. And obviously you don't want to go over all 30 because you would be there a lifetime explaining each one. However, there are some very, very important ones that I don't see covered anywhere else, and it's the stability. It's that, and then there's you can tell if you're doing that at the we'll call it the microscopic level. But it also gives you the it gives you the putt doing this. It gives you the putt doing this. It has the putt doing this. It also has the putt doing this. It also has the putter doing this. And it measures tempo extraordinarily well. And it talks about track, and it also talks about how you start and how you finish with your putt. There's a lot going on that sometimes just simplest adjustments would work, but I would certainly look up Capto. And the reason why I like them now, didn't like them before, but I like them now, is it's an easy setup now. Before you had to measure stuff and it was just gross. Now you just clip it on, you make sure that the computer's talking to it, you hold it sideways for a few seconds, hold it straight up and down for a few seconds, and within 15 seconds you're going, and off you go. Now you have to do some inputting, just like you have to do for the Flight Scope, name, putter, that kind of stuff, but that goes without saying. But the setup is just like boom. Now that's there, that just shortens your time, because I was spending most of my time setting the doggone thing up. So yeah, there you are. Okay. Get the thing out of the box, Jim. I know, right? It's one of those things that's almost it's almost superstitious now. I'm gonna have to have a bad putting day, which pretty much could be around the corner. Good round. Could the inch tip be because of the TM adapter? You might have answered it already. If it's a TM, what it's going into, no, it doesn't matter if it's going into the adapter or not. Why would you trim it if you wanted it to go higher? 38.49. Ooh, same guy. You're like, what? So that happened to me. So I shot I shot 39.40 or get my 79, but man, I thought the play on the back was just way, way better than on the front. And it was and that's where it was. So, I mean, I'm going to take the win for sure, but it just allows me the shots that I missed. I'm like, oh, okay. So the other part is, uh, yeah, it is. The other part is I think it's thought. I think it's that 6 inches between your head, and if you're guys like me, maybe eight. The it's on how you approach it. Are you approaching the hole to make par, or are you approaching the hole to make a birdie, or are you approaching the hole just to survive? I think that really has a lot to do with it. Here, as of late, I told the story a year ago, but when I was golfing at JC's, another local golf course, I know I have parred every hole in that golf course at least once. And finally, it just hit me, and I got stubborn enough that I said, I'm going to go around and do it. And I almost did. I shot a 37. I bogeyed one hole, and I was just looking at myself, well, now, why don't I do that all the time? That's the next question that we always ask. And it's just a way that you think about it, I believe. Thank you, Mr. Hanner. Thank you very much. Mr. Hodges, stupid question. I doubt it. If you are fitted a half-inch longer and you want to try one length, should you make them a half-inch longer or just stick with OEM length? Good question, actually. I would say if you're the taller golfer, and by naturally, and that's the reason why it's a half-inch over, then yes, I would. If you need that half-inch over because you have the early release, right? If you have that early release and you just need that extra half-inch to find the bottom of the ball, then you have a choice. Either you go get a lesson and figure out how not to do it and play normal, or you play the half-inch longer. But that's where you go. But yeah, I don't see any reason why. The best part is, James, is that you can always choke down. It's easier to take it off than it is to put it back on. Look at that. I didn't see Steven up here anywhere. Okay, there's Steven. All right, glad you got it. I have a young golfer. Shaft was torquing too much. Ended up with a graphite light shade. Lady shaft, same CPM, same length, same shaft weight, a lot less torque. I will have to look at the Acro stuff. Yeah, the Acro, Patrick. I'm going to tell you that it's very nice. It really, really is very nice stuff for a talented young golfer. So you can do that, no problem. Mr. Barber, how are you, sir? Thank you for staying up so late. It is. We just opened it up today, Charlie. It was Robin looked at it, she says, "You don't have a bottle of scotch open." I was like, "Well, we'll have to remedy that one, won't we?" And the fingers is keeping it along. It's keeping me along. Mr. Bob, my buddy's on there. Ah, I remember those sharp grooves that used to cut up the golf ball as well as the Bellata days. Yeah. And they're still talking about it, right? I saw now there's an article about what does it take to sharpen your grooves. And you can sharpen grooves, that's not a problem. However, with the new groove rules, if you were playing competitively, you really, really, really want to be careful about that, because if somebody looks down and sees your wedges and they look kind of funky, you could get challenged and you could easily be out of spec. And then there you are. When in reality, you could probably have cleaned them out and been okay. So you got to watch that when you do it, particularly when you're doing it by hand. Uh, you know, there are other ways of doing it with the machine and that kind of stuff, and making sure you're staying there and you're just revitalizing the groove, but it's a lot more involved. Thomas, what do you say, man? 525s are on the way. First time for new clubs in my life. All right. The new Tacoma wedge is in the bag. I'm a happy guy. Nicely done, sir. New Srixon V-Star. You're going to have to tell me, do they do well? I'm not real versed on the Srixons other than the originals where they had the Q-Star and the Z-Stars. You have to let me know how those work out, what you think about them. Alf must be on Facebook. All right. There you go. There's Bob. Okay, so Charlie, I gotta think it's the button. I might be having a brain failure here, but I hopefully it's the button. Sunny V is back. All right, you went to Wisconsin, huh? Sand Valley, Erin Hills. Ooh, was it Erin Hills worth the trip? Apparently it says so. It says you're worth the trip. Drove back through Ohio. What? Drove back through IPA, but didn't have enough time to divert down south to McGolf. Oh, that's all right, partner. You know, that's where we tell folks, and Bob's heard me say it, that, you know, where you at? And I said, well, when you go down south and you hear the banjo music, you need to go about another 20 miles and you'll find us. And we're down south. We're only about 20 miles north of the Kentucky line. So, yeah, that's a heck of a drive out of your way if you're in Wisconsin, but I'm glad you make it. See some of the U.S. Good for you. Played yesterday, 74. Man. So why is that? Why am I saying that? Why is it important? Bob has got the best of both worlds going on here. So I gave him the Koatai, and hopefully I'm saying that right, Koatai, and it's an Australian putter grip from BJM Grips or BJM Golf. And I did a video on that a while back, and it's a very long putter grip with a very accentuated teardrop shape. And he has a system of how to putt, how to hold it, bring it down, fold it over, bend over, the whole 9 yards in order to get over the ball and just allow your shoulders to rock. And Bob actually embraced that and turned into this putting machine. And we always kid around that he does, you know, if he's inside 40 foot, he's not worth a darn. So we got in the Makefield putter, and he was doing really with that. And just out of the blue, I got some new Koatais too that I have to review. It's the same Koatai, but they've got nubbins on them, so it has a bit of a different grip. So I mean, it's really nice. I ought to show them to you so I can say I'm doing it. And we put one on Bob's putter to see what's going on. And after shooting a 74, apparently so. So very cool. Chris S. All right. How much can you tip a driver shaft that is broken at the tip? Was thinking of putting it into a 3-wood if after it's been tipped enough. Okay. So we got to make an assumption, Chris, before I give you an answer. Let's just say number one. We use this. You had the shaft going in there. This will pretend to be the adapter, and it broke off right here. Right, that's about an inch and a half, somewhere in that area. If it was just right off at that area, you could probably clean up that shaft depending on the make and model and put it into a 3-wood and be okay. You might actually have to tip trim the back end to get to the right length. Now, if you're out here and you're sticking this much out at the top, yeah, I wouldn't do that. All right. So most driver shafts anymore have tip sections that are between 3 and 5, right? Between 3 and 5. And if you are taking off an inch and a half right here. That means you got an inch and a half sticking out here. Now you go into a fairway wood, and all of a sudden you've sucked up that inch and a half again. That's at the very ragged edge of being able to make that thing go. Now, sometimes the 3 woods don't have as much depth as insertion, and you can get away with it. However, if you do, and everything's normal, you're on the ragged edge of it not playing very well, but it could. If you have time and effort, it's worth the shot. However, be very mindful that you could easily use up all the tip. So hopefully that, yep, if the adapter, yep, we should be good. All right, there we go. Herman Ohm, what do you think about the Aerofiber graphite shafts? I think they're a very nice shaft. I think that as they go up in weight, that they get more stiff than advertised. Their most popular model is probably the 95 or near the 100 mark. The 95, and I believe there's a 70, and then those are probably their 2 most popular for the average golfer. They got one or two that go above it, and those are probably more popular for the better golfer, the one with their late release a little stronger. There for a bit, they did have a QA issue, and that's since been resolved, particularly since they've been purchased by True Temper. So yeah, I think they're a pretty nice shaft. Plainsman Murph, what do you say, sir? Afternoon. I currently have a Maverick Sub-Zero. Nice driver. If I purchase a new Rogue ST Max head only, would the existing shaft adapter work, or does it work only for Callaway heads? So to answer the first one, if you take it out of the Maverick, can you put it into the Rogue? The answer is yes, you can. They both have the OptiFit hosel, so bam, bam, you're in. And are they only for Callaway clubs? Yes, they are. Most every, in fact, here's one right here. So it'll fit right into there. There you go. That's what it is. All right. That's where it goes. So every OEM has their own adapter for that very thing. Heck, they don't want you switching at all. The only thing that's common in most of these things is the screw that goes into the adapter itself from the head. Look at Miss Robin go. Woo-hoo-hoo! Keep forgetting the start time. Hey, at least you made it, Austin. Good for you. New book just out. Goes over that. The 4 Foundations of Golf by John Sherman. Good book. Okay. 4 Foundations of Golf. We'll have to check that one out. Brian, it's been a bit. How you doing, buddy? Back in Alberta. Good for you. And golfing tomorrow with my priest and deacon. Good for you. I have to watch my language. You know what they said is golf came up because all the other 4-letter words were taken. So be careful. Don't use the other ones. All right. Finished a 500-gram head, bird's eye maple and brass, 48 inches long. I love working. Holy moly. Yes. All righty. Chris says, great, thanks. Break is right at the end of the head of the adapter. I think we'll need 1/2 to 2 inches of the tip. We'll need to be sure trimmed off for butt length, but we'll save a few bucks. And for sure it will, Chris, right? For sure that it will. And you never know. You might find out that it's going to work really, really good in the 3 wood. Just depends on the person, right? It really just depends on the person. Okay. Look at that, 6:29, and we got down to the very end. Well done. All right, guys and gals. So again, from all over the world, again, thank you guys for checking in and having fun and asking questions. Watch out for the video tomorrow. It'll be on an ugly repair that I have to fix, and it actually turned out pretty good, I must say. I better say, right? And I appreciate this, guys, for you guys watching it. And if you would, as the last plea here, like and subscribe. And if you have any buddies that haven't seen us, have them take a visit too. And as always, let's see your scores go low.